There's been so much talk lately about collagen, hasn't there? It kind of feels like it's the new big thing for, well, health and feeling good.
It really does seem to be everywhere.
Yeah, and looking at the info you sent over, it's interesting because collagen itself, it doesn't seem to be a specific brand name.
No. It looks more like a general term people are using.
Right. Almost certainly pointing towards actual collagen, or maybe all those collagen supplements lining the shelves.
Exactly. So it likely refers to collagen in general, or these supplements based on it.
So for this deep dive, the plan is really to dig into the science behind all that buzz. What does the evidence actually say about collagen's benefits based on these sources?
That's a great starting point. Yeah, it's easy for these terms to catch on, so knowing what we're actually discussing is crucial.
Definitely.
And, well, what is collagen? Fundamentally, it's the most abundant protein in your body. Think about it. Roughly 30% of your total protein.
Wow, 30%.
Yeah. It's the main structural protein, the framework for your skin, muscles, bones, tendons, ligaments, basically holding you together.
Okay, so like the scaffolding for our entire body. And it's got that really unique structure, doesn't it? That triple helix thing you read about?
Precisely, that distinctive triple helix structure, mainly built from amino acids like proline, glycine, and hydroxyproline. That's what gives it its incredible strength and flexibility.
And it's not just one single thing, is it? There are different types.
Correct. It's not a one-size-fits-all protein. There are several main types, and each one has a specific job.
Right. The sources lay out 5 main ones. Type I, that's the big one. Skin, bones, tendons.
Yep, type I is the most common. It provides structure and strength to skin, bones, tendons, ligaments. Super important.
Okay. Then type 2, that's cartilage, right? Makes sense for joints.
Exactly. Elastic cartilage for cushioning and joint support. Then you got type 3, found more in muscles, arteries, organs, providing structural support there.
And type 4 is in the skin layers.
Yes, helping structure the different layers of the skin. And type V is a bit more diverse: cornea, some skin layers, hair, even the placenta.
Quite the team.
It really is. And your body makes this stuff naturally, which is fantastic. It uses nutrients like vitamin C, zinc, copper, manganese to get the job done.
And here's the catch. I guess that production doesn't stay high forever.
Unfortunately, no. As we age, our natural ability to produce collagen starts to decline. Plus, the collagen we already have can break down faster.
Ah, okay. So that's where some of those signs of aging come in. The wrinkles, maybe the joints start complaining a bit more.
That's a big part of it, yes. Visible signs and internal ones, too.
And it's not just getting older, is it? Our lifestyle choices can really impact it too, like too much sun.
Oh, absolutely. UV radiation is a major factor. Smoking is another big one. Excessive alcohol, not getting enough sleep, lack of exercise. All these can negatively affect collagen production and quality.
Right, makes sense.
So when you consider all of that, the natural decline, the lifestyle impacts, it's really no surprise people are looking towards supplements.
Yeah.
But the real question, as we dive into these sources, is whether the claims about these supplements actually hold up to scientific scrutiny.
Okay, let's get into that. Starting with skin health. This has got to be the #1 reason people look into collagen.
Certainly a very popular reason, yeah.
We know collagen is crucial for skin strength, elasticity, hydration. The big claim is that taking supplements can, reduce wrinkles and dryness. What's the research say?
Well, this is where it gets interesting because the research actually seems pretty supportive here. Several studies suggest that collagen peptides, these are like smaller, easier to absorb bits of collagen, might genuinely help reduce wrinkles and improve skin dryness.
Okay.
The sources mention findings, suggesting that taking somewhere between 1 and 12 grams daily for maybe 4 to 12 weeks showed improvements in skin elasticity and hydration.
So not just hype then. And how does it supposedly work? Is it like signaling the body to make more of its own collagen and other stuff like elastin?
That's the leading theory, yes.
Yeah.
By providing those amino acid building blocks and maybe triggering certain cell receptors, the idea is you're kind of encouraging your skin cells to produce more collagen, elastin, and fibrillin, these key structural proteins.
Interesting. But what about acne? Some people claim it helps with that too.
Yeah, that's a common claim, but based on the sources we have, there really isn't solid evidence that collagen supplements prevent acne. So that seems less supported.
Got it. So maybe helpful for aging signs, but not so much for breakouts. The material also mentions wound healing, which kind of makes sense given its structural role.
It does. Collagen is vital for tissue repair.
And there was a pretty impressive review mentioned, wasn't there? 19 studies, over 1,000 people.
Yes, that review found that taking hydrolyzed collagen for about 3 months led to improvements in skin hydration, elasticity, and density. That's quite significant.
It really is. And there was more, right? Another review of 26 studies suggesting slowed skin aging.
Mm-hmm. And a specific 2018 study showing better elasticity, hydration, and fewer wrinkles with 1,000 milligrams daily. There was also a 90-day study using liquid fish collagen,
Okay.
and even a systematic review and meta-analysis, which is considered a high level of evidence showing positive results for hydrolyzed collagen after about 90 days. Even a mention of the International Journal of Dermatology. So there's a fair bit of research pointing this way.
There really is, but, and this is a big but, the sources also highlight potential bias, right? Like some studies being funded by the companies making the products.
That is a really important point to raise. Yes, the funding source is always something to consider when evaluating research. It doesn't automatically invalidate the results, but it definitely calls for a closer, more critical look.
Needs that grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift to joint health. Another huge area, especially as osteoarthritis risk goes up with age and that collagen decline we mentioned.
Absolutely. Joint health is another major focus for collagen research.
What are the sources saying here? Can supplements help with joint pain or stiffness?
Here, too, the research looks quite promising. There's evidence suggesting collagen supplements might improve osteoarthritis symptoms and reduce joint pain overall. One review mentioned specifically found improvements in joint stiffness for people with osteoarthritis.
And the idea behind it is similar to the skin. The collagen gets into the cartilage somehow and maybe tells the body to make more, reducing inflammation.
That's the main hypothesis. The thinking is these absorbed peptides might accumulate in the cartilage, stimulating the cells there, the chondrocytes, to produce more collagen and other components of the cartilage matrix. This could potentially improve joint structure, reduce inflammation, and therefore lessen pain.
Okay.
And the sources back this up with a pretty large analysis, 41 studies, including 25 clinical trials. It concluded collagen showed benefits for osteoarthritis and cartilage repair, kind of regardless of the specific type used.
That's a substantial analysis. And wasn't there a specific trial comparing a certain type of undenatured type 2 against glucosamine and chondroitin?
Yes, exactly, a randomized trial. And interestingly, the group taking that undenatured type 2 collagen actually showed greater reductions in pain and stiffness and better joint function compared to both placebo and the glucosamine chondroitin group after 6 months.
Wow, okay.
And there's more. A study in the International Journal of Sport Nutrition and Exercise Metabolism looked at younger adults with functional knee issues, not necessarily arthritis, and found specific collagen peptides improve their activity-related joint pain.
So, benefits potentially beyond just osteoarthritis.
It seems so. And finally, a meta-analysis also showed reductions in WOBAC and VAS scores. Those are standard tools doctors use to measure arthritis symptoms and pain.
Right. So, similar to skin, the evidence for joints seems pretty positive overall, keeping that funding caveat in mind. What about bones? Collagen is in bones, too. Can supplements help prevent bone loss, like osteoporosis?
Collagen is definitely a key part of the bone matrix, providing flexibility to complement the mineral hardness. The research here seems promising, but perhaps a bit more specific in terms of who benefits most. The sources mention research suggesting collagen might help inhibit bone breakdown. One key study followed postmenopausal women for 12 months. Those who added 5 grams of collagen daily to their calcium and vitamin D regimen had lower levels of proteins indicating bone breakdown and less loss of bone mineral density compared to those just taking calcium and vitamin D.
That sounds pretty significant for that group.
It does. And another study, also with postmenopausal women, found that 5 grams of collagen daily for 12 months actually increased their bone mineral density.
So, positive results again? But is it mainly for that specific group?
That's what the sources seem to emphasize, yes.
Yeah.
These benefits were mainly seen in older women who already had low bone density. So while it's encouraging for them, we can't automatically say it would do the same for, say, younger people or men with healthy bones.
Right, an important distinction. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk muscle. Collagen is protein. Muscles have protein. Can taking collagen help build muscle mass?
Well, collagen is present in skeletal muscle, part of the connective tissue framework, but it's not the primary contractile protein like actin and myosin.
Okay.
There's one interesting study mentioned, though. It involved older men with sarcopenia, that's age-related muscle loss.
Right.
Over 12 weeks, the men who combined resistance exercise with 15 grams of collagen daily saw greater increases in muscle mass and strength compared to the men who only did the exercise.
15 grams, that's quite a bit more than the bone study dose, so maybe helpful, but specifically when combined with exercise, and maybe especially for older adults losing muscle.
That seems to be the takeaway from this particular study, yes. But, as the sources correctly note, much more research is needed across different groups, younger people, women, to see if this holds true more broadly.
Makes sense. How about heart health? Arteries need collagen for structure, right? So could supplements help prevent issues like
That's
atherosclerosis?
the theoretical link, yes. Collagen provides structure and elasticity to artery walls. If levels decline, arteries could weaken, potentially increasing atherosclerosis risk.
So any evidence for supplements helping?
The sources mention one small study that suggested collagen powder might help keep arteries healthier and possibly reduce atherosclerosis risk. It reported finding reduced artery stiffness and also an increasing good HDL cholesterol.
Okay, but small study is the key phrase there, isn't it?
Absolutely. The sources are clear that this is preliminary, and much larger studies are definitely needed before we can make any strong claims about collagen and heart health benefits.
Right. Now, this next area is really intriguing: mental health and well-being. How could collagen possibly connect to that? Seems less direct.
It does seem less direct, but it's an emerging area. One angle is collagen's general role in brain health. There's some mention of potential protection against amyloid beta proteins, which are linked to Alzheimer's.
Hmm.
Plus, glycine, a key amino acid in collagen, has been studied separately and linked to things like improved cognitive function and potentially better sleep quality.
Ah, so it might be the components of collagen, like glycine, having effects?
That's part of the thinking. Another idea mentioned is more indirect. The anti-aging effects on skin might boost confidence and mood.
Yeah, I can see that. Feeling better about how you look can definitely impact how you feel overall.
Exactly. And then there's the gut-brain axis connection. Some research suggests collagen might help heal the gut lining.
Leaky gut.
Potentially, yes. And since gut health is increasingly linked to mental health, anxiety, depression, stress, improving the gut could theoretically have positive downstream effects on the brain. There's even mention of potential liver health benefits, again, possibly impacting mental well-being indirectly.
Wow, lots of potential connections there.
The overall idea is that supporting neurological health, maybe gut health, could lead to better sleep, energy, mood, alertness. But it's still early days for much of this research.
Definitely needs more investigation. Okay, so beyond those major areas, the sources also list a few other potential benefits, kind of a miscellaneous category.
Yes, things like potentially thicker hair and healthier nails, which makes sense as collagen as a component.
Right.
Its role in blood clotting. Glycine, again, for supporting liver health and detoxification. The leaky gut idea pops up again. Also, maybe fueling muscle repair, leading to faster recovery from exercise.
Faster recovery could be a big one for athletes.
Potentially. And maybe even improvements in overall body composition. But again, these are often based on less extensive research than the skin and joint findings.
Gotcha. Now, when people go to buy this stuff, they see different types, right? Hydrolyzed collagen or peptides, and then this undenatured type 2. What's the difference? Does it matter which one you take?
Good question. So hydrolyzed collagen or collagen peptides has been broken down into smaller amino acid chains. This generally makes it easier for the body to absorb.
Okay.
And this form is often the one highlighted in studies showing skin benefits. Undenatured type 2 collagen, however, keeps its original intact structure and is usually sourced from chicken cartilage.
And that was the one in that trial comparing it to glucosamine.
Exactly. Interestingly, though, studies looking at joint pain have actually shown benefits with both hydrolyzed peptides and undenatured type 2, suggesting they might work through slightly different pathways in the body.
So for skin, maybe hydrolyzed is the go-to, but for joints, either might work.
That seems to be a reasonable interpretation based on the current evidence, yeah.
Now, we've covered a lot of positive-sounding research, but we need to circle back to the caveats. The sources stress that a lot of these studies are small.
Absolutely crucial point. Many studies do have a limited number of participants. While they can suggest potential benefits, we need larger, more robust, randomized controlled trials, the gold standard, to really confirm these effects across broader populations.
So more research needed. What about all those glowing user reviews and testimonials you see online? Collagen changed my life kind of stuff.
Yeah, those are everywhere. And the sources do acknowledge that many users report positive things: better skin hydration, less joint pain, nicer hair, and nails. But these are subjective experiences. They can be heavily influenced by the placebo effect. Expecting it to work makes you feel like it's working. Everyone's different, too. So while they're interesting anecdotes, they aren't solid scientific proof on their own.
Right. Don't base your decision solely on those. Okay, what about safety? Is it safe to take any side effects?
Generally, collagen supplements seem to be well tolerated by most people. Side effects reported are usually mild.
Like what?
The sources list things like digestive issues. Some people might get bloating, a feeling of heaviness, maybe diarrhea or constipation, heartburn, things like that.
Okay.
There's also a potential for allergic reactions,
Yeah.
especially with fish-derived collagen, if you have a seafood allergy. That's important.
Certainly. Anything else less common?
Less common side effects mentioned include bad breath, some sleep issues, potential for high calcium levels, hypercalcemia, kidney stones in susceptible individuals, and maybe headaches or dizziness. But these seem rarer.
And we should probably mention the regulation aspect, or lack thereof.
Yes. Dietary supplements, including collagen, aren't regulated by the FDA in the same way drugs are. They don't need pre-market approval for safety and effectiveness.
So quality could vary? Contamination risk?
That's the concern. Potential for contamination with things not on the label, like heavy metals, or the actual amount of collagen might not match the label. It highlights the importance of choosing reputable brands.
Brands that do third-party testing, maybe?
Ideally, yes. Third-party testing offers some independent assurance of quality and purity.
Okay, so let's try to tie this all together. Comparing the big claims about Collegan with the evidence in these sources, what's the bottom line?
I think the sources paint a picture of, well, promising but nuanced evidence. There's fairly strong support for benefits in skin hydration and elasticity,
Right.
and quite promising evidence for improving joint pain, especially osteoarthritis symptoms, and possibly bone health in postmenopausal women.
Okay, the stronger areas.
But the evidence seems less convincing, or at least needs more research, for things like major muscle mass gains, significant heart health benefits, or dramatic impacts on mental well-being.
And things like acne prevention or massive hair growth?
Yeah, the strong support just isn't really there in the sources for those claims. And it's always worth repeating. Supplements aren't magic bullets. A balanced diet rich in protein, vitamins, and minerals is still fundamental for your body's own collagen production.
Absolutely. Supplements are supplements, not replacements.
Precisely.
So the takeaway seems to be lots of interest in collagen, some good science behind certain benefits, particularly skin and joints, but approach other claims with caution and look at the evidence.
That sums it up well. The interest is high, the potential is there in some areas, but critical evaluation of the evidence for each specific claim is key.
So final advice for listeners who are thinking about trying it.
Number one, talk to your doctor or a healthcare professional first. Always. Especially if you have underlying health conditions or take other medications.
Crucial first step.
Remember that foundation. A healthy, balanced diet. If you do decide to supplement, look for those reputable brands, ideally with third-party testing. Keep expectations realistic, it might help, but results vary.
And maybe think about the type of collagen based on your main goal.
Yes, consider if hydrolyzed peptides or undenatured type 2 might align better with whether you're focused on skin or joints, for example, based on the research we discussed.
Great advice. It really shows that while Collegan is the buzzword, understanding the actual collagen science is what matters. Okay, here's a final thought to leave everyone with. As research continues, what other hidden roles might collagen play in our long-term health that we haven't even uncovered yet? And, maybe more importantly, how do we get better at sorting the real science from the marketing hype as more information comes out? Definitely something to keep thinking about.